Welcome to CEO's Library, the 1% Bookshelf, where we dive into the most impactful business books shaping industries and driving innovation. I'm your host, and today we're exploring a book that pulls back the curtain on one of the most secretive and influential industries in the world. What if I told you that some of the world's most notorious dictators and criminals had PR teams working to improve their image? That there are people whose job it is to make the bad guys look good? It sounds like something out of a spy thriller, but it's the real-life story of Phil Elwood, author of All the Worst Humans: How I Made News for Dictators, Tycoons, and Politicians. Elwood was a high-stakes PR operative who spent years representing some of the most controversial figures on the global stage. His book is a jaw-dropping journey through the dark underbelly of public relations, revealing how the news we consume and the opinions we form are often shaped by hidden hands. In the next 20 minutes, we'll dive into Elwood's world, exploring the ethical dilemmas he faced, the power of PR to shape global events, and the personal toll this work took on his mental health. We'll also uncover valuable lessons about the nature of power, influence, and the media landscape we navigate every day. So, buckle up. We're about to enter a world where truth is malleable, perception is everything, and the line between right and wrong is often blurred beyond recognition. Let's start at the beginning. Phil Elwood's journey into the world of high-stakes PR began, like many stories in Washington, D.C., with an internship. But this wasn't just any internship. Elwood found himself working for Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, one of the most influential figures in American politics at the time. Picture this. A young college dropout, with nothing but a knack for fast talking and a bit of luck, suddenly finds himself rubbing elbows with some of the most powerful people in the country. Elwood describes walking through the halls of the Capitol, feeling like he'd stumbled into a secret world where decisions that affect millions are made over cocktails and handshake deals. This taste of power and influence was intoxicating for Elwood. He writes, "I never want to leave," capturing the allure that Washington holds for so many ambitious young people. But it was also here that Elwood began to see the machinery behind the scenes, the way information is controlled, narratives are shaped, and public opinion is molded. After his time on Capitol Hill, Elwood found his way into the world of PR. And not just any PR. We're talking about the kind of high-stakes, global influence campaigns that can make or break reputations, sway elections, and even change the course of history. One of Elwood's most shocking clients was none other than Muammar Gaddafi, the notorious dictator of Libya. Now, let that sink in for a moment. Imagine being tasked with improving the public image of a man widely considered one of the most brutal dictators of the 20th century. How do you even begin to approach that kind of job? Elwood takes us behind the scenes of this surreal assignment. He describes a meeting at the Libyan embassy, housed in the Watergate complex of all places. The irony isn't lost on Elwood, who quips to the ambassador, "Nothing shady has ever happened here." But the real kicker comes when Elwood is tasked with writing an op-ed for Gaddafi himself. He sits at his desk, staring at a blank screen, trying to find words that will make the mad dog of the Middle East sound reasonable and statesmanlike. It's a masterclass in the art of spin, showing how even the most unsavory characters can be repackaged for public consumption. This experience raises profound ethical questions. Elwood writes, "I'm not sure if I'm proud of what I've pulled off or scared of what I'm capable of. It's unsettling, like watching someone get mugged in broad daylight and doing nothing to stop it." And herein lies one of the central dilemmas of PR work at this level. When does spinning a story cross the line into outright deception? When does representing a client become complicity in their actions? Elwood grapples with these questions throughout the book, never quite arriving at a satisfactory answer. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of this work is how effective it can be. Elwood describes watching as his carefully crafted words, attributed to Gaddafi, are printed in major newspapers and discussed on cable news. In an instant, ideas that he thought up in a windowless office appear to become reality, certified by the media itself. This is the power of PR at its most potent, the ability to shape reality itself. Elwood writes, "I realize my job isn't to manipulate public opinion. My job is to get gatekeepers like CNN to do it for me." It's a sobering reminder of how the news we consume and the opinions we form are often shaped by hidden hands. As readers and citizens, it challenges us to think more critically about the information we encounter and the sources it comes from. But Gaddafi was just the beginning. Elwood's client list reads like a who's who of controversial figures, including Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad and the government of Qatar. Each new client brought its own set of challenges and ethical quandaries. One of the most fascinating cases Elwood describes is his work on Qatar's bid to host the World Cup. Now, for those who might not follow international sports closely, this was a highly controversial decision. Qatar, a tiny desert nation with no football tradition and scorching summer temperatures, seemed like an unlikely choice to host one of the world's biggest sporting events. Elwood takes us inside the campaign to secure the World Cup for Qatar, and it's a masterclass in the art of influence. He describes how his team worked to undermine the U.S. bid by planting stories about childhood obesity and the need for better physical education in American schools. The goal was to create doubt about America's commitment to sports and fitness. It's a brilliant strategy, and it worked. Qatar won the bid, beating out the U.S. and other favored contenders. But the victory came at a cost. Elwood writes about the guilt he felt when he later learned about the human rights abuses associated with Qatar's World Cup preparations, including the deaths of thousands of migrant workers. This episode illustrates a key theme of the book: the power of money and connections in the world of PR. Elwood describes how his firm was paid handsomely for their work on the Qatar bid, but also how they were able to leverage their connections in media and politics to influence the outcome. It's a stark reminder of how much of what we see in the news and in global events is shaped by behind-the-scenes players with deep pockets and extensive networks. As Elwood puts it, anything is possible with the right amount of money. But it's not just about the money. Elwood also gives us insight into the psychology of power and influence. He describes the rush he felt when he saw his strategies play out on the world stage, the thrill of pulling strings from behind the curtain. This addictive quality of power is a recurring theme in the book. Elwood compares it to a drug, always chasing the next big win, the next headline, the next successful campaign. It's easy to see how someone could get lost in this world, losing sight of ethical considerations in pursuit of the next high. We're halfway through our journey into the world of high-stakes PR with Phil Elwood's All the Worst Humans. If you're finding this conversation as fascinating as I am, you'll definitely want to read the full book. Remember, you can find a link to purchase it in our episode description. Now, let's dive back in and explore the human cost of this high-pressure world. While Elwood's stories of global influence campaigns and rubbing elbows with dictators are certainly thrilling, perhaps the most impactful part of his book is his honest discussion of the toll this work took on his mental health. Throughout the book, Elwood drops hints about his struggles with depression and anxiety. He describes drinking heavily to cope with the stress of his job, racking up credit card debt, and feeling increasingly isolated from the people around him. One particularly poignant moment comes when Elwood is sent to Las Vegas to essentially babysit Muammar Gaddafi's son, Mutassim. He describes feeling constant fear, surrounded by armed guards and witnessing extravagant displays of wealth and power. At one point he writes, "I wonder if Mutassim will shoot me with it if he discovers my theft," referring to a large sum of money he was handling. This constant state of fear and stress took a heavy toll. Elwood describes having nightmares about being tortured by his former clients, panic attacks before important meetings, and a growing sense of disconnection from his own moral compass. The breaking point came after Elwood's involvement with an Israeli private intelligence firm called Psy Group. Without going into too much detail, this experience led to Elwood being interviewed by the FBI as part of the Mueller investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election. The stress of this experience, combined with the accumulated weight of years of ethically dubious work, led Elwood to contemplate suicide. He writes with brutal honesty about planning to take his own life, going so far as to write a goodbye note to his wife. This part of the book is difficult to read, but it's also incredibly important. It's a stark reminder that even those who seem successful on the outside may be struggling internally. It's a call for greater awareness and understanding of mental health issues, especially in high-pressure professions. Fortunately, Elwood's story doesn't end there. He describes how a timely phone call from a friend and the unwavering support of his wife helped pull him back from the brink. He also writes about his experience with ketamine therapy, a cutting-edge treatment for depression that he credits with saving his life. Elwood's description of ketamine therapy is fascinating. He writes about how the drug helped him gain new perspectives on his experiences, allowed him to process trauma, and ultimately helped him rebuild his mental health. It's a powerful testament to the importance of seeking help and being open to new treatments. This part of the book also serves as a turning point in Elwood's career. He describes making the difficult decision to walk away from the high-stakes world of international PR, prioritizing his mental health and ethical concerns over the allure of power and influence. It's a decision that many of us can relate to, even if we're not operating at the same level as Elwood. How many of us have faced ethical dilemmas in our own careers? How many have had to weigh the benefits of a high-paying job against our own values and well-being? Elwood's journey serves as a cautionary tale, but also as an inspiration. It shows that it's never too late to change course, to prioritize our mental health and our values over external measures of success. As we near the end of our discussion, let's take a moment to reflect on some of the key lessons we can take away from Elwood's experiences. First and foremost, this book is a wake-up call about the power of PR and media manipulation. Elwood gives us a behind-the-scenes look at how public opinion is shaped, how narratives are crafted, and how even the most unsavory characters can be repackaged for public consumption. This knowledge empowers us to be more critical consumers of media. It encourages us to question the narratives we're presented with, to consider the motivations behind the stories we see in the news, and to seek out diverse sources of information. Secondly, Elwood's story highlights the often blurry line between ethical and unethical behavior in the business world. While most of us will never be asked to represent a dictator, we may face our own ethical dilemmas in our careers. Elwood's experiences encourage us to think deeply about our own values and where we draw the line. Thirdly, this book serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of mental health. Elwood's honest discussion of his struggles with depression and suicidal thoughts is a call for greater awareness and understanding. It reminds us that success and wealth are not shields against mental health issues, and that it's crucial to prioritize our mental well-being. Finally, Elwood's story is ultimately one of redemption and change. Despite years of working in ethically dubious territory, he found a way to turn his experiences into a cautionary tale for others. His decision to write this book, to pull back the curtain on the world of high-stakes PR, is an act of courage that has the potential to drive real change. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought from the book. Elwood writes, "All the worst humans taught me what power really means. I've never felt like a powerful person, but I've wielded a lot of power." This quote encapsulates so much of what makes this book fascinating and important. It reminds us that power often operates in hidden ways, that the people shaping our world aren't always the ones in the spotlight. It challenges us to think more deeply about where power really lies in our society and how it's wielded. All the Worst Humans is more than just a memoir or an exposé. It's a challenge to all of us to be more aware, more critical, and more engaged with the world around us. It's a reminder that the stories we tell and the information we consume have real-world implications, and that we all have a responsibility to engage with them thoughtfully. Whether you're a business leader, a PR professional, or simply someone interested in how the world works behind the scenes, this book offers valuable insights and important food for thought. It's a thrilling read, but also a deeply thought-provoking one. And that brings us to the end of our discussion of All the Worst Humans by Phil Elwood. I hope you found this conversation as fascinating and thought-provoking as I have. If you want to dive deeper into Elwood's experiences and insights, I highly recommend picking up a copy of the book. You can find a link to purchase it in our episode description. Remember, at CEO's Library, the 1% Bookshelf, we are dedicated to bringing you the most impactful business books, distilling complex concepts into actionable insights. Whether you're a seasoned executive or an aspiring entrepreneur, we're here to transform your commute into a mini MBA session. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you the best content possible. Until next time, keep reading, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in business and in life. This is your host, signing off.